Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kim Schmidt, Executive Editor for Farm Equipment Magazine. Welcome to our latest webinar, Digital Marketing Best Practices, in conjunction with the Western Equipment Dealers Association. Today's presenter is Craig Taylor, a Senior Digital Strategist with WEDA Digital. He's responsible for training, teaching, and consulting dealerships on all manners of digital solutions. Before Greg gets started with his presentation, I've got a couple of housekeeping items. On your screen, there's a control panel with a Q&A icon. You can submit questions here at any time during the presentation, and then at the end, we'll go through as many as possible, time permitting. If for any reason your internet connection or even our connection should fail at some point and it looks like the webinar has been interrupted, just go back to the email you received earlier telling you how to join the webinar, and you can re-enter that way. Okay, we're ready to get started. Thanks again for joining us, and you can take it away, Craig.
Thanks so much, Kim. Really excited to go through the digital marketing best practices and going through this webinar with everyone today. As Kim said, I'll be going through the materials here. Please put questions in as I'm going through, and I'll address those questions at the end, and we can spend some time on that, time permitting. So to set the stage a little bit on what I'm going to go through today, I really want to make sure that everyone on the webinar can come away from this webinar with some things that you can be doing to help your overall digital marketing and what we'd like to call your overall online presence as well. You know, a lot of these elements are just little things that you can do to make sure that you are doing everything you can when it comes to digital marketing. So I'm going to start out today by going through just a little bit on why digital marketing is important, and then I'll jump into the best practices from some of the different areas that we look at from a digital marketing perspective. So let's jump into a few of those reasons why digital marketing is so important. So you know, from a survey from Farm Equipment, there were 3 takeaways that I think were really important showing digital marketing. Well, the first one with respondents saying that they want to embrace newer marketing opportunities in the coming years, mobile marketing, customer data. A lot of the greatest marketing successes over the past 12 months are things like website development and social media. And then the 5 highest ranked marketing activities in terms of ROI were a mix of digital and legacy media. So using some of that digital in conjunction really helped to move ROI when it comes to marketing as well. And so that, you know, to that last point relates a little bit on, again, why where digital marketing can fit in from an ROI opportunity. And you can see from just where the ad dollars are being spent, things are moving up when it comes to web advertising, website design and maintenance, as well as you know, some of those more online activity. So relating to that as well, we start to see a shift in where people are making their decisions and where those buying decisions end up happening. And so we see more and more and more that people are doing research and making decisions online. And you can see quite a shift there. And I like to say that digital marketing in general has changed more in the past 10 years than it has in the past 50 years. And a lot of that is due to smartphones. It really is a situation where you know, anyone that's out there can very easily do research on their smartphone and find different options and look at what all is available to them out there. So it's very, very important to make sure that from a digital marketing perspective, you're taking care of how you appear to those people that might be looking for you. Just a few points around that as well. You know, 92% of consumers read online reviews before going to a business in a lot of cases. 94% of consumers would use a business with a 4-star rating. So some of the ways that people are doing research, which we'll touch on in a second. That relates to what I'm saying here just around the research that people are doing. More and more, they want to see what the options are. and it's easier than ever to look at all of the different options that are out there. So you want to be able to put your best foot forward online to make sure that you're the one that's being chosen. Now this relates a little bit to something that we like to call the customer journey. So each of these areas is an element of digital marketing. And what we're going to look at today and go through are best practices for a lot of the areas that are through this. So when we think of the way that that someone kind of moves through this, they might see some advertising for a piece of equipment that they want to look at. Then they're going to start to do some research through search engines to find the different dealers that they could go to. And then they might choose from there where they want to go based on the reputation or based on that research that they're doing. Then they're going to make that purchase and then have kind of a post-purchase experience as well. So we want to make sure that, whether you're doing it or you're having someone look at this for you, that each of these different areas are being taken care of. And that's going to help the most amount of business flow through your funnel and end up at a conversion point, end up at that point of sale, which is where we want to be. So relating to that, these are the areas, some of the areas that I want to talk about today, what we call 5 pillars of the virtual doorway. So just like you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that your actual doorway is easy to access, you've got a sign up, it's clean. You want to make sure that you're also doing that when it comes to your online presence and your virtual doorway with your digital marketing. So these are some of the areas that we're going to look at today and the best practices that come with those. Your online listings, where your dealer or dealerships are listed online. Do they have correct information? Do they have easy access to the website? Your reputation, so what are consumers actually saying about you? Your social media presence, how your website looks, and then also how your advertising, your digital advertising might look too. And this relates to something that we refer to as the new marketing stack. So, in the past, it might have been seen that you could just do some advertising out there, whether it's, might have been print, or maybe you're doing some other forms of advertising that are going to hit. But really, as things shift towards a new way in marketing, we want to make sure that all of these different elements in this new marketing stack are taken care of. And this is really about where people are engaging with your business online. And they're engaging at all of these different points, and you want to make sure that you're engaging back with those individuals at that time too. So as we move in, let's start to look at some best practices. So like I mentioned before, local search can relate to your online listings and how you appear when someone does a Google search or someone uses a search engine to try and find you. So let's start with, what are these best practices? I want to open it up with those, go through a few pointers on them, and then close each of these sections with reminding what those best practices are as well. So here's some exercises for your local listings or local SEO. The number one most important thing when it comes to an online listing is Google My Business. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by Google My Business in a second. But that is where someone finds your business on Google. And Google is by far the number one way that someone it's the number one search engine that's out there. And because there's so many searches happening there, you want to make sure that you have optimized that Google My Business to look as good as possible and have all of the correct information on there. In conjunction with that, it's always a good idea to have some reviews on Google so that someone can find out what are other people saying about your business. Number 3 is consistent listings. So to help drive your local listings and drive your business that way, it's really important to have your business listed in as many places as possible with consistent data in all of those places as well. So getting those listings with the right information is definitely important. You know, do a little bit of a test, search for yourself, what's coming up, who's coming up, are there competitors coming up, but be aware of what your customers might be seeing when they're doing a search for not only directly what your dealership is, but you know, what are your main brands that you have as well. And when someone is doing that search, who's showing up there. Always look to build new listings as the number 5 exercise. And then number 6, make sure you're adding content to your website to help drive you know, what we call search engine optimization, or making sure you're ranking higher on Google or on one of those search engines as well. So let's dive into a few of these exercises and really look at why they're important, what are listings, and go into some of that information. So like I mentioned, Google is one of the most important places to be. And you can see just some of the stats that come up here. You know, there's 2 billion direction requests to small businesses on a monthly basis. A really well-maintained Google listing can get 5 times the views as one that's not claimed and not optimized. And 70% is how much more likely consumers are to visit a business with a complete Google My Business profile as well. So like I mentioned before, Google, just with the amount of traffic that's there, the amount of people that are going through Google is really, really important to make sure that it's optimized. So you might be wondering, well, you know, talking a lot about Google My Business, but what exactly is that? So if you do a search directly for a business here, you can see on the right-hand side, that's what a Google My Business is. You know, some people call it the Google My Business Knowledge Panel, but in the end, that's what Google My Business is, and that's the information that's coming up. And because it's so easy to access the information that's there, a lot of people will just use this versus going all the way to a website in order to do something like call or ask for directions and do that. Now, something that you can see there on that Google My Business is that there's a lot of, you know, blue links and kind of blue imaging there. And then there's the review rating that's in orange. So my second point there, make sure you're getting some Google reviews. Google makes that number orange for a reason, because eyes are drawn to it immediately from there. So they know that's what people are using to look between a few different businesses. So they understand that, and they make it orange because of that. So just important to keep in mind when you're thinking about, okay, how do I optimize my Google My Business, and how do I do that there? Hopefully, everyone has control of their Google My Business. If not, you might see something that says, do you own this business? Really important to go through that process of claiming that and having control over the listing, so that you can make sure that the correct information is out there on that Google My Business. Now, Google is that first place, but I want to make sure everyone has an understanding of, you know, what listings are as well and why they're important. So listings, just to go through, are places that are on the internet. They're websites that would contain this information about your dealership. So your name, your address, zip code, state, phone number, website, you know, what category you fall under, what your hours of operation are, and then what are the different services that are there as well. So as you can imagine, as consumers are out there doing searches and searching around, you want to make sure that they do find your right phone number, that they can find your address, that they understand, you know, which category you're in. All of this information is really, really important, so that people can find you with the correct information that's out there as well. And in the end, you know, why are local listings and this local SEO really important? It's all about being found online. It really is that first step, like I was saying, from a research perspective. That's people are going to go to search engines, go to Google, And it's all about making sure you're being found before your competitors are, or at least in the same conversation there as well. And there's tons of different places that people might be searching for your business as well. So it's important to be found wherever you can be. Now, as we look at the importance of listings, you can start to think, okay, so you want to show up closer to the top on something like Google. And so what we would look at there is what we call the magic 3 or the snack pack at the top of Google. And that really is a goal to make sure that your business is found there. Because then if someone is searching, not doing a direct search, but maybe an indirect search for a brand that you offer or something else there, then you want to make sure that they can find you from there. So it's good to kind of have in mind, are you, if someone is doing an indirect search, are you showing up here on the magic 3? And if not, who is, and maybe what are some of the things that they're doing differently and are showing up there. And this is from a Google search, but you can also do a search through Google Maps, and you can see there's going to be a number of areas that you're going to, a number of businesses that will show up there too. So local listings really is a foundational element of search engine optimization, which helps you to get higher in this search ranking and higher on Google as well. You can see from Google Maps too, to tie it back to Google My Business, you can click on one of those and you can see that same Google My Business page. So again, to reiterate, really, really important to make sure that that you're found through Google My Business. So I want to tie it back, like I said, as we go through each of these sections and each of these areas, tie it back to what are those exercises that you can be doing to check how you're doing and take care of your online presence. So I want to reiterate for local SEO, where your local listings there, first things first, you got to look at that Google My Business and make sure that you have it claimed. Then from there, get some Google reviews, and we're going to talk a little bit more about reviews in a second. Number 3, have consistent listings in as many places as possible. Number 4, search for yourself in your local market. Do some Google searches. Really see when you're doing that search, what's showing up, what's appearing in that case, so that you can make sure that you're appearing as you want to be appearing in that area. Number 5, build new listings. Find areas online and make sure that you're getting consistent data out to those new listing sources as well. And then number 6, look to add content to your website on a regular basis so you can continue to show people, this is what we're selling, this is what we're doing as well when they're searching, and help to be found before competitors that are out there as well. Like I mentioned, the next step here as we look across some of the most important areas of digital marketing is your online reputation. And this is really relates into online reviews as well. So let's look at what are 5 exercises for reputation. Number 1, it's really important to make sure that you understand what people are saying about your dealership. Are you monitoring the reviews that are coming in? Are you monitoring what people are mentioning or saying about your business? Number 2 is really important to respond to all of your reviews that are coming in. Whether they're positive or negative, responding to reviews shows a really high level of customer service, which I know every dealership wants to be able to present to their customers and their prospective customers, is that they have a high level of customer service. So if someone came to you directly and gave you feedback that the sales process was great, they're so happy with what they purchased from you, then you would of course engage back with them and talk to them about hey, that's so great. We're glad you had a really good experience there. Same thing online. If someone is taking the time to leave feedback for you, you want to make sure that you're responding. And whether it's just a small positive review that they left or a long negative review, responding to it is really, really important. Number 3 is a very important piece to this as well. And make getting reviews part of your daily workflow. And it can feel a little bit odd at first because it's hard to ask people for feedback. But if you make it a part of the process, you have a really good interaction with someone, whether they're a new customer or a longtime customer of yours, just simply asking them to leave a review can go a long way to showing how people feel about your dealership. So it's making it a part of that workflow takes a concerted effort, but it can pay back big time as more and more reviews start to come in and start to show there. You can do some things like on social media. You can promote when someone does leave you a really good positive review out there and make sure people understand what's being said. And I think that to the last point here, being notified and understanding what's being said through reviews is a really, really good feedback mechanism too. So if you can get your management team reading reviews and understanding it, you're going to see 2 things. From positive reviews, you're going to see who might need some praise and who might be doing a great job. From negative reviews, you might see aspects of your business that you might be able to change or work on over time. So both types of reviews can be really, really good feedback mechanism for the management team to see and understand how things are running. So, let's look at online reviews and why online reviews are important. 97% of consumers, they find that local business info on the web. Like we saw from Google My Business, Google understands that it's something that people are looking for, and it promotes them by showing that orange color across a lot of the blue that they typically have. And 90% of consumers make decisions based on what online reviews say. So it really is a point where someone could make a choice based on what they've read through those reviews, and they could be choosing your dealership over someone else's because of it. So really, we come across dealerships that have 3 types of reviews out there. You could have a lot of negative reviews. You could have no reviews or no recent reviews, which really are the same thing. If you think about it, even if you have 10 reviews, but they're all from 2 years ago, it's hard for someone that comes across those reviews to think, to really trust the information that's there. There's so much that can change over that period of time. So you want to make sure that there's consistent reviews coming in and that they're recent and relevant. Someone wants to see that someone came into the dealership last week, had a great sales experience. That's what's going to help to confirm that they're going to have a great experience as well. And then something we also see often is that dealerships will have a healthy but unmanaged review pipeline. So tons of positive reviews coming through, really great job there, but they're not responding to those reviews, which means they're probably not monitoring them and using them as a feedback mechanism like I talked about before. So you might fall into one of these categories and look at one of these categories there too. So important just to take a look inside and see where you're falling with regards to some of these elements. So I want to make sure that we're promoting some best practices here. So let's start with, if you do have a negative review, what's the best way to respond to that negative review? And I've got a 3-step process that's really, really good to respond to a negative review. And I want to tell you quickly why it's important to follow a process like this. What I see a lot, and to no fault of anyone that's responding to negative reviews, if it's the owner of the business that's responding to those negative reviews, then often it can be taken very personally, which makes sense. There's a personal stake in that business. But what comes from that, even though it's coming from maybe a good place, is that that owner can get defensive. And what that spurs online is more and more feedback and more negative comments that end up spiraling out of control, and it turns into a fight online, which is never something that you want to get into. So by following something like this, it removes some of the emotion out of responding to a negative review, and it helps to show anyone else that's reading that negative review that you're handling things in a really professional manner. So the first step to respond to a negative review is say that you're sorry. It doesn't really matter what happened in that experience. Again, you're responding to this review not for the person on the other end that left the negative review, it's for everyone else that's reading the reviews that are out there. That's the really important part. So you want to apologize, say something like, terribly sorry you had a negative experience at our dealership. We really pride ourselves in providing an exceptional guest experience. If you can, leave some sort of marketing in there as well. You know, is there an award for customer service that you've won recently, something like that. So you can say something along the lines of, this must be an isolated incident. Normally our clients rave about their experience. In fact, we recently won a Consumer Choice Award. Again, anyone else that's reading that negative review is going to see that, and they're going to see that little bit of marketing in there as a positive. And the third and most important part to respond to any negative reviews that are out there is take it offline. So you can see there in this scenario, responding at the bottom of this response to a negative review, there's a request to call. You could leave an email address in there, but you don't want to have the resolution directly in that response to the review. You want to try and take it offline. And whether it does get resolved or not, it's showing that, hey, we're trying to take an extra step to resolve anyone that has a negative experience and go through that. So that three-step process will work with really any negative reviews that are out there, and make sure that they're being handled in an appropriate way to show other people how you can handle it. Now, this is a little bit of a rare experience that's out there, but there is a possibility if you respond to a negative review in the right way, the person that left that review might be compelled to change that review from a negative to a positive. So if you are able to get someone on the phone or to take it offline, it's never a bad idea to at least ask, hey, if we can come to a resolution on this, would you change that online review? It's a rare situation, but it is a situation that happens. And simply by asking, sometimes people are going to change their opinion on that, and they're going to change that review as well, which can end up being a really, really big positive for anyone else that's reading through. And again, what we're looking to do is show a really high level of customer service. Now, responding to positive reviews is not, you can see at the bottom there, it's not something that needs to be anything like, the three-step process that's there. But you do want to show it, and you do want to make sure that they feel welcome to it there as well. So you can see at the bottom there, you just want to thank them for the review, make it specific to whatever their review was left, and that should be enough. This is a good one because it does say, congratulations there. I like to advise that you also maybe put your business name in there as well. By having your business in more and more review responses that you're doing, it actually can help with your SEO and for you to rank a little bit higher on Google as well. So that's something like, in this case, it could say, thanks for the great review, Jason. We're glad you had a great experience with name of the business. Congratulations on your new tractor. And you can see, like I mentioned though, it's just responding to those positive reviews can be really, really important. I mentioned it briefly at the start, but you can imagine a scenario if someone came directly into the dealership to say, hey, I had a great experience. I had all of these this is how it went. I really liked that tractor that I got. And you can imagine if the manager just kind of looked at that person saying that and walked away, That's like if you don't leave, you're not responding to those reviews. It doesn't show that level of customer service that you want to be at. So again, important, it doesn't need to be anything long, but it's important to respond to some of those positive reviews. Now, it's important to ask as well, how can you get positive reviews? And to my best practices earlier on, something that you want to look at doing is making it a part of your daily routine. You want to ask, you want to make sure that you are putting that out there and talking as much as possible to just request it. It's similar to the situation if someone leaves a negative review and you resolve their problem and ask them to leave a positive review, that can happen. But you're not going to drive this part of your digital marketing strategy unless it becomes part of that daily routine, and you become a little bit more comfortable asking for that feedback in the form of a review. So to go over those exercises for reputation again, number one, monitor what's being said out there. Know about the reviews that are coming in, about your dealership and what's being said out there. It's the most important thing to be aware of what people are saying. Number two, whether it's a positive review or a negative review, make sure that you're responding to them. There's a little bit of a different strategy from one to the other, but I've given you a couple of ways that you can respond to positive reviews or negative reviews out there. Make getting reviews part of your daily workflow. Like I just mentioned, it's worth asking and talking about it with with those customers that you have a great experience with, and maybe even a long-standing relationship with as well. And then once you start to get some positive reviews, you can do some things like share that positive feedback on social media or get it out there so that people can see what people are saying about that business. That can be a really effective way just to spread the word. It can be a social post like, hey, thanks so much for leaving this review, name of the person that left the review. We're happy that you're satisfied with the level of service that we have. And then to the point, to tie into number one and knowing what's being said, make sure that that feedback is circulating through the management team as well. And that you have the management team reading reviews and looking at reviews so that they understand as well, what are people doing well? What are some things that someone could potentially do better as well? And all of those pieces together can help you move forward with your business. Next piece on digital marketing that's really important is social media. What are some of the ways that you can have a consistent social media strategy and start to get your business out through social media platforms as well? So there's a few things that you want to make sure that you're doing with social media. Similar to that Google My Business right at the start, are you making sure that you have all of your social media channels claimed? I'm going to show you an example of what that might look like in a second. Number two, do you have consistent posting to make sure that you're taking advantage of the audience that has put their hand up and said, hey, we like your dealership, we like your business. Do you have some consistent information that's getting out there to keep you top of mind and keep the right information in their hands as well? Number three, similar to reviews, are you responding to comments and the way people are engaging with you through social media? Number four, do you understand, who your audience is and what that audience looks like as well? So let's take a look first here at why it's important to claim Facebook page. So you might not know, but Facebook will create a page for you if you don't go and claim that or create that page. And so this page exists out there on Facebook, and there's the possibility that people can still like this page, that people can still go out and they can tag themselves and they can interact with the business, but there's no one that's really managing that because it's unofficial. So it's really, really important to go through the process of claiming it, getting your information out there so that when people are doing that research and they're going through and they're trying to engage with you on Facebook, that they can do that and they can get the right information. And it's also important because you want to be able to take advantage of social media and use it as part of that digital marketing strategy. So there's three areas that lead to a successful social media marketing strategy. You can use it in a format for customer service to monitor and see what people are saying. There's always people that are identifying themselves through social media and putting their hands up. So there's possibility of generating some leads. And then there's also that ability to build out a fan base or build out people that like your business, and then continue to market to them as well. So if we think about that, from a customer service perspective, let's think about Facebook, for example. There's lots of people that spend their time on Facebook. And so what does that lead to? If they find their way over to your Facebook page, that's maybe where they want to engage with your business. They might want to ask questions there, comment on your posts, and do some things like that. And it could be something along the lines of, hey, do you have, we can see it a lot when it comes to used equipment. They might be posting a question like, hey, do you have this in stock? Are you carrying this right now? So that kind of ties into both pieces there. You want to be able to serve that customer when they ask that question and when they're engaged in that way. But you also want to, it's a very, very hot lead that's out there too. You want to be able to act on that hot lead and make sure that you're having that conversation. So monitoring and using social media can lead to those situations. But what in the end, what is it all about? It can really lead to repeat and referral business as you build out that following through Facebook or some of the other social media channels. That's going to increase. Where are they going to go next time if they're, they see you're engaged in the community and they see that you're posting about the same kinds of things that they enjoy and look for. It can create that top of mind awareness and it can drive them to become a repeat customer as well, which is really, really important. Some of the reason why social media can be important, and I alluded to it just a second ago, is because this is where people are spending their time right now. So you want to be able to catch, where are the eyeballs? And, previously everyone was spent however much time, watching TV or doing some of those activities. But now, even if they are doing some of those, a lot of the time they're scrolling through Facebook and they're, on Instagram. It's this, it really is one of those things that you can see that's where people are spending their time. And so if you're where the eyeballs are, as I like to say, then there's a good chance that you are showing your business to them on a consistent basis as well. I mean, anyone can see it, even, if you've got an iPhone, it even tells you how much time that you spend on it now. So you can easily see, on a weekly basis, how much time people are spending on some of these social media sites. And I want to, show just a couple of things. Consistent posting is really crucial. You can see here, this is just some of the spikes of engagement and the reach that's coming out there when it comes to, consistent posting on a weekly basis and some of the spikes that are out there. You can, if you have consistent posting, you're reaching that audience over and over. So like last 30 days here, we can see almost 4,000 people that were reached to make sure that posting is getting out there. And, this is an example of what are some of the things that can go into a consistent posting schedule as well. And so I really like, a few of these here that we can see. There's a really good mix of posts here. On the left-hand side, the image of the dog, but talking about business that's based on family values, talking about the team, but also kind of the local community as well, talking about National Ag Day, and you're really trying to, just promote to the same values that are out there as well. And then talking about how we can increase yields, reduce costs, and that one is a little bit more, technical, or a little bit more along the side of, hey, what can we do for you? So, a good mixture of this helps to get the right messaging out there and get the right pieces across to really resonate with your audience, and make sure that that you're aligned in those cases as well. Like I said, that consistent posting helps to get these different messages out there, but it also helps to keep your dealership top of mind to that audience. And it's great, the more people that you can continue to reach in this way too, then the bigger that you can grow that consistent audience, and make sure you're taking advantage of it. And I just want to mention again that the social media is another way that customers are putting their hands up, or talking about declaring their buying intentions. So if they're tweeting at you or posting on your Facebook wall that they're looking for something specific, there's no hotter lead than that. You want to make sure that you're taking advantage of it. So let's go back to our exercises here for social media. Number one, we saw what an unclaimed Facebook page can look like. So you want to make sure that your social channels are all claimed, and that you're taking advantage of Facebook page, and you're getting your correct information out there. Number two, you want to make sure that you have consistent posting, you're driving engagement, and that you're staying top of mind with that audience. Like I said, it's a unique scenario that you can, on a weekly basis, get not only your product out there, but also what your dealership stands for and some of the values that are there too, which can drive those long-lasting relationships. And number three is, people are trying to engage and communicate with your business. Are you responding to the comments and reviews that are out there? And number four, you identified your audience and kind of looked at, okay, who is liking my page, and what are they all about as well? So those are your four exercises for social media. And the last section that I want to take you guys through today, is, with regards to digital marketing, is digital advertising, and are you doing some of the things along this to make sure that you're taking full advantage of your digital advertising and you're getting out there. I want to show you, maybe a few things that you might not have thought about as well from a digital advertising perspective, and how it might be effective for your dealership. So it's really important to be able to identify your keywords. So this goes along with, to tie things back to our first section, really understanding, if you're doing some searches and you're searching across your product line and you're searching for some things out there, where are you coming up, and where do you want to come up there? How do your customers end up finding you? So that's really important. Then make sure you're using those keywords as a base for where you want to appear online, and help to drive that. And then there's a few different tactics here to think about that might differentiate your digital advertising strategy from that of a competitor out there, or what some of the other people are doing as well. So think about, are you doing any sort of geo-targeting or hyper-local marketing? Are you using retargeting pixels? And are you doing something like advertising on Facebook and using some other methods to advertise as well and get that across? So, it's really important at the start to understand, if you're going to have a digital advertising campaign, what's your end goal in that campaign? Do you want more people calling in to your dealership so you can have that conversation? Do you want people actually coming in and looking around and having those conversations, or maybe do you want both of those things as well? And then, Google AdWords is one of the most popular ways to be out there. So really important to make sure that you are looking at Google AdWords, and like I mentioned before, doing a little bit of investigation to find out what keywords, what are people showing up for, or what are people searching for to find your business, and then really targeting some of those areas as well. So you can see, for anyone that's not aware of what Google AdWords is, right at the top on this search, you can see that there's some ads that are coming up, and that those are the Google ads that each of these different businesses are using. And there's some other ways that you can use Google Ads that can be really effective. One of those other areas is through location extensions, for example. And a location extension is when someone is on their phone and maybe they're searching for something like something near me, or using a near me search, and then it can show up right from a mobile device. So as I've mentioned throughout this, there's lots of people that are using those smartphones. So we want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that in as many ways as possible. And to show a few of the other tactics here, as I mentioned before as well, are you taking advantage of your website? And so site retargeting and display advertising is where someone visits your site and using a pixel, and then as they search a number of other sites that are out there, this is where you can show your ads to them as they browse around the other areas of the internet that are out there. Maybe they just go to a weather website, or maybe they're looking up scores from the baseball game. You can show up there as well and follow them around a little bit. This, I think everyone's seen this. You visit a certain website, and then it maybe follows you for the next month as you're searching around. But it can be a really effective way to stay top of mind too, and make sure that they're coming back to the website to view more. Now, using something, display advertising are those banner images that are out there that you would use from your website targeting. But then you can also do some search retargeting there as well. So you can focus on people that are searching for a specific product or searching for a specific term, and then you can retarget to them as they, again, go around to different websites that are out there as well. And with regards to the display advertising that I'm talking about, this is maybe a tactic that some people aren't using right now, but can be really effective. You can use something called geofencing. And geofencing means you can actually draw a perimeter, whether it's around certain areas of a city, all the way down to a certain building or something along those lines. So if there are areas that your clients and potential clients are spending their time, you could geofence around that and do that. So it's something that we've seen from maybe you do a geofencing campaign that goes around an arena for a certain event, and then you can target all of those individuals for the next 30 or 60 days after that time period. So it can be another very useful tactic too. And then Facebook advertising, I think, is one that can really go well hand in hand with consistent Facebook posting. But as I've mentioned in the last segment, the Facebook is where people are spending that time, and that's where a lot of the eyeballs are. And Facebook advertising does a really good job of targeting exactly who you want to target. So based on demographic and the things that they like and some of those areas, you can get a really effective campaign going on Facebook to get your message out there, or drive people to the website, or drive people to click and have a call to action that's out there as well. So Facebook can be very effective through that as well. So again, just to reiterate on the digital advertising, you want to make sure that you're doing some keyword research, either using a program or doing some searching yourself to find where you might be coming up or where competitors are coming up. And then look to purchase those keywords through something like Google AdWords. You look to use some different tactics than maybe you've thought of in the past, something along the lines of geo-targeting and that hyper-local marketing, as well as retargeting pixels or doing some Facebook advertising as well. So that's what I've got here for the presentation, and we've got about 10 minutes left, so I think there's a few questions here that I can go through and answer now.
Yep, we have gotten a few questions in, and if anyone has any others, feel free to submit them while we're going through these first few. So when you were talking about the local search, how does someone get higher up in those magic 3?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's no kind of silver bullet to get up in there, but there are a number of different elements that can help to start to go up. So, in that, I'm talking from the start on the local listing side of things. One of the most important things is to be found on as many listing sources as possible with consistent, accurate data. So that's a factor of it, but there's also things like if you get more reviews, you respond to those reviews, as well as a consistent social media strategy. All of those that are elements that can help you get up there into that magic 3 and into that area. Those are all elements of SEO or search engine optimization that can get you up there.
Okay, and then this person says they've signed up for an auto post system with Echo. Is it advised to do something like that, or is it better to have full control of your posts?
I'm not overly familiar with what the content looks like from an auto post. I would double check, is that content being posted elsewhere under different companies and some of those things as well. I prefer it being a little bit more curated and personal, because like I mentioned, what can be really effective from a strategy there is using a mixture of posts, and you want some of those posts to be a little bit more personal and be a little bit more along the lines of, these are the values that we have. And then some of the other posts that you might have could be an interesting article. And then some other posts could be very specific to marketing and to your business. So it's good to be consistent and get the posts out there. I guess it's a little bit more my preference to have things managed and curated by a team.
Okay, and on that similar topic, how often should we be posting on Facebook?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I don't like maybe over posting. I think what I've seen be a really effective cadence for posting is about 2 posts a week, kind of mixed out in there. I've seen some go as high as 4 posts a week. I don't really like the everyday posting and getting that out there. I think that can be a little bit too much. So I would say from a sweet spot perspective, about 2 posts per week.
All right. If here, I'll do this one next. Where do users most gravitate to, listing in the big 3 or an ad on the top of the page?
That's a great question as well. It's an interesting one, and it's one that I often ask if I'm talking to a big group. I'll ask that question, and I'll say, "Are you guys likely to click on the ad at the top or go down closer to the bottom?" And I think typically, just from I think typically people will go to that magic 3 and go to some of the organic areas. But from all the data that we see from Google AdWords and running Google AdWords programs, having your name at the top is still very effective. And there's lots of clicks that are going through that. So I think there is a higher proportion of people that scroll down to that magic 3, but it doesn't mean that it's not effective to have your ad up top. And you'll see that through the clicks that are coming through.
Okay, and then if a dealer who was attending the webinar, is going to go back and they want to get started, but they don't want to do too much because they're just getting a feel for things. Of all the stuff you talked about, what's the best place to start? If we walk away with one thing to implement today, what should that be?
That's a really good question as well. So a number one thing, and it's always going to depend a little bit on where the dealer's at, but make sure that Google My Business is up to date, has the right information, and that is claimed. If there's one thing that's the absolute most important thing to do. And then as you branch out from there, start to look at what are some more listing sources that can be found on, and then branching into some of those other elements as well. A lot of dealers will think to advertise first and then do some of those elements. But if you don't take care of some of those other elements, you could be advertising, but people could be converting with competitors because they can't find your business well, or your reviews aren't very good either. So I would say, look at your listings, specifically Google My Business first.
Okay, thanks. And we have a few more minutes if any other questions. Oh, one just came through. On Facebook photos or videos, what's better received by viewers? So I guess, do people tend to look more at pictures or at videos?
Videos are something that are becoming more and more effective. But like anything, I don't think you want to oversaturate with video, because then people aren't necessarily going to watch. But adding video into your social media strategy can be a really, really effective way to get people to notice and get people to see things, and it can really increase your reach that you're getting with some of your postings. So I would highly recommend putting in some video into that social media strategy.
Okay, we have time for another one or two questions if anyone has anything else they wanted to ask Craig. Okay, well then I think that does it for us for today. The presentation and audio will be available on the Farm Equipment website in case anyone wants to go back and review it. Also watch your email and the Farm Equipment newsletter for more information. On behalf of Craig, the Western Equipment Dealers Association, and the Farm Equipment staff, thanks for joining us for today's webinar. When you leave the webinar, you're going to be directed to a short survey, and please feel free to reach out to us and let us know what you thought of the live event, and if there's any topics you'd like us to cover in future webinars. Thanks again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.